You are watching the number one podcast in the whole entire user community, and I'm one of your hosts, Juanzo.
And I'm your other host, John Paul. The heck?
And together we are Raw Break. And welcome, family. It is time to talk about AEW Dynamite Grand Slam. You know, the Arthur Stadium was absolutely packed. 20,000 people right there, and AEW keeps making history. Despite of how good or how bad the show was, they keep pushing that, WWE, bar. They say, hey, we're here. They keep sending messages because they have, loyal fans, their fandom, or, their fans, they keep growing and growing and growing. And, this first match actually made a lot of history, and it's going to create a lot of noise, a lot of buzz. So, Paul, tell me.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I really enjoyed this episode of, Dynamite's the first half of Grand Slam. We had 2 hours here. We're going to have a special 2-hour edition of Rampage on Friday, 10 to midnight. So, that'll be the whole, the second half of Grand Slam. And, to go off the name, I think episode 1 was a home run. I think, some segments okay, some stuff, maybe we didn't care for all that much. But overall, this was a really good show. And again, maybe it took Tony Khan a while to get in the big name players, for them to tell him, hey, how about we book this, book that. But, to me, I think, JR said it in this first match, which we're about to get into, if you're a wrestling fan, this is the show for you. And it's hard to disagree at this point.
Yeah, no, like I said, they actually...
They really righted the wrongs in a lot of ways.
Hey, you're right. So, thank you so very much for being with us. If we have to right any wrongs, please let us know in the comments. But, we are actually, remember, we used to say when Dynamite was bad, we will say it. But now, we actually acknowledge how good this show is. And, like I said, AEW keeps sending those messages to WWE, so be careful. So, thank you for being with us one more time. Don't forget to check the NXT review. And 2.0, a lot of people are loving it. Jean Paul has, mixed thoughts about this. I'm sometimes I think it's okay. The second show was a little less maybe entertaining than the first one, but at least your Toxic Attraction was really good. So this show has maybe potential. We'll see what happens with this.
Yeah, Braun Breaker, Rex Steiner is one of the guys who I said this guy looks good. Diamond Mine, I think you can get over, like you mentioned, Toxic Attraction. For the women's tag division, with them as Mandy Rose, maybe it'll bring some legitimacy to those women's titles, which they've been lacking since they came into the company or since they debuted the belts. But, no, there are some things I like, some things I hate. But, to hear all of our thoughts, check out the review NXT 2.0.
Do us that favor, also subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. I want to say hi to everybody that has been saying that they love the show. All those comments, thank you so very much. We're going to keep improving, so good things are coming, just give us some time so we can keep developing, we can keep signing big names like AEW did. Let's start from the beginning, This, like you said, like I said to you before we went on air, this should have been the main event. I don't understand why this was not the main event, and that's the only, peep that I have, the only piece of criticism, the only thing I can say about it. This should have been the main event all along.
Yeah, I really feel like every single match, they had the script and then somebody flipped it. And the main, it's like they did from the last segment to the second last segment to the third last, whatever, so on and so forth. And the main event was actually supposed to be the opening match. Because to me, you should have opened this with Britt Baker and Ruby Soho. I think they did it with this because who knows how long those fans were there. They might have filmed 2 hours of a show.
Already dark, already elevation. Yeah. You're right.
They've been sitting there for 2 hours so we're bored. We hate this. Okay, we got to get them hot for this next 2 hours. Give them this. So that's really why I think they did it. But no, I mean, this match was great. It was the chops and stuff early on. And Bryan, he gets so red. We saw that in the Greatest Royal Rumble, how red and beat up he can get. So that just really gets you into it because it makes you think, oh, shit, this guy's really getting his ass kicked. But he was going after Omega's arm, obviously for the label lock and everything. But Omega, after a big dive to the outside, lots of action, lots of stuff. And then, kind of Omega, the first big, oh, holy shit spot. Omega, hits the Snapdragon suplex onto the outside, onto the ramp. So it's like, oh my God, he's done. Commentary was selling it, the neck injuries, this and that. So, it really got you into it. But Bryan, obviously, the comeback so good. I think he hit, the Avalanche Snapdragon. I mean, this match...
He did the Avalanche Dragon, yes.
And it had a 30-minute time limit, and it was going. And, if you're looking at the clock, you say, okay, 8:20, 8:25, okay, those entrances aren't very long. Is this thing going to go to a draw? And, I'm really glad that, not to skip all the way to the end, but, to miss some of these good moves like the Hurricane Rana, Bryan hit. And like Shivani actually brought up a good point when he's like, oh, I like how he held on to the Hurricane Rana all the way through to the mat, to deliver more impact. So they were really getting into it. Jim Ross was into it. This is what you needed. And I think that, this was one of the best wrestling matches Kenny Omega put on. And you got to credit that to Bryan Danielson.
Yeah. No.
Credit that to his skill and his love for this business, and Omega worked with him good. They sold everything good. He got the label lock, but Omega got to the ropes. And it's like, oh, this is bullshit. He hits the big comeback, the big knee and everything. But, it's just, I don't know, Omega actually countered the knee. And it was really good. And, it just really came to a time limit draw. You see, he got the label lock on right as the time limit came. And this was the perfect end because now he can say, you know what? Maybe Omega gets pissed. Oh, could you beat Bryan? You couldn't beat him. You couldn't beat him. So Omega gets pissed, wants to fight him again. Bryan obviously would want to fight him again. And they can be, hey, this time the title's on the line. Maybe he drops it to Bryan. I don't know. But you see here the big smas, obviously, for the 6-man we're going to see on Rampage. Adam Cole, the Young Bucks, Christian Cage, Luchasaurus, Jungle Boy. They were all going at it to set up that match, get you excited. But I still think the main story here, Bryan and Omega 2, but the title's got to be on the line. But this match was perfect to me. The end in the draw was perfect.
Yeah, you loved it. I was maybe Bryan, but it was the debut. That was personally, I would have won that just because, like, again, it wasn't for the title. They can be, hey, I beat you, so that kind of makes me the number one contender.
I feel Omega already looked like a joke for how long, and if he would have lost this match, non-title or not, it's like he already looks like a joke. And the Elite looks weak. The only thing strong in the Elite to me is Adam Cole because the Bucks lost the belts and they already look like losers. Now they don't even have.
So that's why they did it. And AEW always like that do the stipulation that, for example, WWE don't use that. And it was not comparing, but I'm saying that you never hear like the 30 limit time and all of that. So here they did that. So it makes sense that like if they have something to resource from, they use it. And like I said, probably one of the greatest matches that we've seen on 2020 right now and in the United States. Probably comparable to Walter and Dragunov. Very nice showing.
2021. Don't put us back in
2021. There you go. Like yeah, exactly. So like, but pretty like good in every single aspect. They told the story, like you said. Danielson sold also like the V trigger. He did not hit the one-wing angel, so that could be part of the story too. But Bryan didn't hit also like the knee, like the running knee that he does. So there's, like you said, there's always the room is going to be for the second one. It's exciting, good, and in the beginning of the show for like this Grand Slam. The kind of like super show or something that they did. But, let's move on, like you said, to CM Punk. He cut a really nice promo. I like what he said. Everything pretty much against the Team Taz and saying to Hobbs and also like to Hook, saying like, hey, you guys are attacked me. You wanted to put me through the table or intended to, or you did. But you tried to take away my love from professional wrestling, tried to take away everything about this. That I earned it and that I left it for so long. And now I finally in love with professional wrestling one more time. So like the intensity of Punk is really great. And the best line for me is when he goes, Hobbs, on Friday, you're going to go to sleep. So very nice from CM Punk. And I mean, like they always have to cash in on him, so it's fine. I mean, it wasn't that long, so I was happy with it.
Yeah, I mean, I like this. He came out, the first thing he did, he put over the opening match. He's like, how do you follow that? And it's like, yeah, exactly. That's why it should have been the main event. But I explained why it probably wasn't the main event. But, I like how he put the match over. And I like when he mentioned Team Taz because, of course, to be here in New York, it's legit. I haven't been here in a while. He mentioned Taz and them, and they booed. And he's like, see, half you guys are from here, and they hate you. So, they like me more than you, and aren't you from here? And this was good because he's like, you guys attacked me last week. You're sleeping on the legend CM Punk, but, this is something about, like, he's like, I'm not going to wake you up. You're going to go to sleep,
great. How he said, Friday. Go to sleep. So like great from CM Punk. That's the stuff that he needs to do, like to sell. For example, this match, that this is not main event, but at least it's going to be the first time that CM Punk has wrestled on TV in 7 years. So that's why it's like the match.
And this is going to be the same thing like with Darby Allin. This is going to be the best match of Hobbs' career here in AEW, well, in his whole career. But he's going to lose. CM Punk is going to win this. I don't see Hobbs winning it. I mean, and if he does, I think you really got to push Hobbs for, like, you know, Miro or Sammy, whoever comes out of that match. You really got to push Hobbs if he would get the upset win, but I don't see
Oh yeah,
it.
you're right. No, it's not gonna happen. Like you said, like it clearly, like go to sleep. He already like said it. This is gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. This was uninteresting. This is kind of the part of the show that like completely like is boring. It just becomes not
Your
neat.
coffee and you get your snacks or you go take a
Yes, yeah, because I'm sorry, but Le Champion, because of all these, big names, for example, like CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, Adam Cole, that's the fresh faces. And now Jericho needs to find like a spot on these things. And, being with like tag with Jake Hager, inner circle, like we've seen this for the longest time, especially with like Lambert, this feud, and they're going to have the match also at Rampage, and it's going to be against Ethan Page and also Scorpio Sky. I'm not really looking forward for that because it's boring. They cut a promo and all about just on to New York, all of that. So this for me completely uninteresting because 4 guys. I mean, Jericho, yeah, he's done his time. Like we mentioned before, he should have been touring with Fozzy. Jake Hager never really got a championship opportunity outside the one with Moxley. And these other 2 guys, the wrestlers that are like the same with like MMA guy. I don't understand it. I'm not really behind this. I don't care.
I mean, if you want to make this storyline at least decent and kind of interesting, you're going to have Hager turn on Jericho and say, fuck you, I'm going to join the MMA guys because I am an MMA guy. But what they're probably going to do is Jericho and Hager are going to go over, and immediately the real MMA guys who are with Lambert are going to come out and beat up Jericho and them, and then we're going to see another match. But
yeah, probably.
I would want Hager to turn, beat up Jericho, and then you know what, Jericho, then he can go tour with Fozzy. He can put over Hager. Hager beats the shit out of him. Okay, I'm going to the hospital. I'm going for a couple months, whatever. And then this can be this badass MMA group that can go after whoever.
No, yeah, that will be a good idea also. So, like you said, there's possibilities of how they can book this. That is not like the worst, but right now that match is uninteresting for me.
You can't even do a storyline to get rid of Jericho because isn't he does commentary on Rampage?
Yeah, well, I mean, like, no, they could easily take him out of there because also, like, they did with Mark Henry. He's not part of Rampage anymore. I don't know how bad, because they feel that he's so bad at it, or I don't know. But, like, again, you see, it's not greener on the other side for a lot of people. You need to be adaptable. You need to have other resources. And I'm sorry, but this guy does not have the ability to be able to be fluent on, in the microphone. Let's move on to the next one, Paul. Yeah. This, to me, I remember, like you said last week, is like, it's good for Brian Pillman Jr. because it's like a feud with MJF. But we knew that like MJF is going to go and let him go over. No, because MJF already has done favors for other people like Jericho, like Moxley. And you know that like for me, the one guy that actually made this opposite switch from AEW to WWE is MJF. So I didn't think he was going to lose today.
Yeah, no, I definitely thought MJF would win, whether it's clean, whether it's Wardlow getting involved, whatever. I was like, okay, MJF is going to win this thing. This would have been the match for a cheap roll-up and not a tap-out because, okay, listen, if somebody insulted your mother, your deceased father, your aunt who helped raise you, if this was a shoot, if this wasn't a work and they were in the back, if they legit hated each other, you wouldn't tap out. Your arm would snap before you tapped out.
Yes. Yes.
I don't like to tap out the salt of the earth. That was like, especially for this story. If this was just a feud, whatever, no big deal. But the way they did the storyline, but the match was good. I like both guys. To me, Pillman is such an underdog babyface. He could be like, he wins a battle royal to be #1 contender and he wins a belt, or he wins their version of the Money in the Bank. What is it, the ladder match? I think it's
like the Casino Royale ladder match.
Like he could, he's one of those guys. He's always in the mix. MJF needed to win here as much as I love Pillman. I just don't like the tap. That's the only thing that I.
And really especially for me, like the way that like it was done, because like Julia Hart was playing the factor, like she was trying to like, hey, don't do this, don't do it. MJF grabs her, it's like, oh, and then like you see Pillman doing that. Like it was a drop kick onto the outside. Then as he's returning, MJF grabs him, and then the soul of the earth. So you clearly see that like it was like maybe times were strange. That could have been, hey, guys, take it home quick because he's like you both, MJF legit, you suck, Pillman, it's fine. So like that's why
I would have almost rather had him like. Maybe when Julia Hart got knocked, the ref was distracted and he sucker punched him in the nuts with the ring. I would have rather seen something like that, and then he, rolls him up 1, 2, 3. So then it's like, oh, you get a rematch out of it. But yeah, the tap out to me, it almost makes it seem like it's done. Like, okay.
No, exactly. So like, the feud is over. It was just they needed a big match for Pillman Jr. They needed like maybe like a match that you said in between the segments and all of that. So that's what we have. But I mean, MJ at least gets one win. Like he gets more momentum than loss from Jericho. So that's what we needed. Let's let's go to one that like we predicted that he needed to do the right thing. And my God, Tony Khan made him do the right thing. So that's fine. Because we thought that like with this kind of entrance, OMG,
No,
he's gonna like lose, like, win against Malachi Black.
If he would have had the baby out with him, like if the baby would have been on stage too and the dog, then I would have been like, there's no way in hell he's losing. But I mean, okay, Cody's always flashy and all this stuff. And I mean, yeah, he did the right thing and we're going to go through it. But man, did it take us a while to get there. I mean, the match, Malachi Black is badass, but the botch fest with Dustin and the match he had with Lee Johnson on Rampage, it's like, this is a guy who, to me, he's so bulletproof as a character. He's a good promo. He has the look. He can wrestle. But WWE and AEW, they find like the most weird ways to make this guy look so, not credible. Maybe he's not like the greatest matches he's had. Maybe like the first one with Cody was, more convincing because it was quick. Remember, like the spots and then, the black mask and that's it. But to me, like again, I think you got to turn Cody heel. Honestly, because, anytime Malachi Black kicked out of a big move, man, the crowd went crazy because they don't want Malachi Black to lose to Cody. Cody's like he's become the thing he hated most, Triple H. He's become that character who gets pushed, and people are like, no, we want the other guy.
It's true.
We want Jeff Hardy to win, not you, Triple H. You know what I mean? They want.
It's true. It's true. It's true.
And then so all that was throughout. But you saw Brandy sit in the ring. She mouthed "fuck you" or something like that. And Malachi.
Right here when they was like they had this, like they saw each other. Remember the stairs down as he does. Like Brandy went "fuck you" and all of that.
And then Cody attacks him from the back, and I'm like, that's a heel move. Nobody goes, oh, legit. It's like, no, using your woman to distract, that's a heel tactic. So Malachi Black was a babyface. Arn took a couple bumps. And then
also like Cody mistakenly hit Arn, so he's like, no, it's good, just go win the match.
But Arn was like, get in the fucking ring. What are you coming after me for? And Cody's like, and Brandy was like, so you saw Cody was kind of like rolled his eyes and he was pissed. So again, this might be something that he lost the match here. But see, I mean, he didn't even really hit the black mask though.
No, he did not. He hit like actually he spit like not kind of like it's not the green mist.
There's black mist.
Yeah, there you go. The black myth. There you go. Like he did that, so that's how like he blind him and then he roll him up and then Malachi Black gets the win, which is good though because that's what we wanted. The best thing is like we were thinking that Cody was gonna like win here with a bury Malachi, but like you said, like the crowd's into it. We were like at least made the right decision.
No, what I would have seen, and I feel like Dusty Rhodes, if I would be talking to Dusty and be like, do this instead of what you did, he'd be like, I agree with you, baby.
Mm-hmm.
It should have been he got the black mist, and instead of being like, oh my god, like done, he should have just been swinging blindly. Like, I'm going to fucking hit you. I'm going to try. Malachi Black laughs at him. Black mass and done. And pin.
Yeah.
Not the inside cradle to me. And that was just a shit finish. I mean, maybe they're doing a rematch, but I don't know. I don't want to see it.
I don't want to, exactly. You don't want to see that. Like, at least.
A rematch would be like Jericho and MJF. It's like, oh, I'm going to rematch.
Until I win.
Yeah.
Till I win. So, like, no, it's like this. Like, drop the story, then Malachi needs to go to somebody else. He's went through, like, the Nightmare family, so, like, they needs to go to somewhere else. And we'll see what happens, but, I mean, at least tonight, like, they did the right thing. Tony Khan, gets a A+, gets everybody, like, thumbs up.
At least he won, and if this also turns Cody heel, then I'm fine with that, because to me, Cody's a lot better as a heel.
Oh, yeah, exactly. It will be a good idea to do that. Don't forget, next week on Dynamite, we're going to see TNT Championship match, Miro versus Sammy Guevara. I really hope that Sammy doesn't win that championship because that's not the right guy for the job. I mean, everybody loves him. He has talent. No one is saying that. But, to go and, like, just cut this Miro's run as a, like, TNT champion, sure, for Sammy, I don't think so. It will be like giving the title back to Darby Allin. Very similar. I don't want to see that. It needs to be somebody else.
I mean, I like this promo. That whole, like, oh, I'm the Spanish God versus God's champion, so it's like a cool, comparison there. And
cool uses of the word, yes.
And where Miro's like, my God demands pain, my wife demands pleasure, and they're the ones who control me. Like the way Miro speaks, some of the stuff he says, like, it's kind of cool. You get into it because, like, look at the guy. Are you going to tell him no? He'll rip you in half. So,
Oh, yeah.
So this is good. And no, I would honestly see the winner of this last match, Malachi Black, going against Miro, and that's would be a person. Okay, I believe Miro dropping it to him because look at Malachi Black.
Oh no, yeah, exactly. It makes total sense. Sammy, I don't think that's the guy for the job.
Honestly, I think Sammy's gonna beat him. I really, Sammy's one of their guys. He's been one of their guys from the beginning. I really think they're gonna, put him.
They're gonna put the title on him. That's what I'm saying. And you remember what he says? He's gonna buy Fuego del Sol a new car. Well, as a side of celebration. So hopefully they don't do that. But Tony Khan has been listening to a lot to the fans. So this is one opportunity that can actually do the same. So we'll see. But let's go to something that is like, I still don't understand why like a team like FTR, one of the greatest tag teams right now. And it's not just because they're on AEW, but they did the same thing in NXT, RAW, SmackDown. And everywhere they go, just because of their style, being serious, being like wrestling, pure wrestling guys, they get jobbed out to like guys like this. And no disrespect to Darby, but staying a 65-year-old man that has had his time in the sun, why wouldn't he put it over these guys over just to make him like also like enticed to stay in the company and not trying to like quit and go somewhere else?
Yeah, I mean, as much as I love FTR, and this is no way an insult when I say this, but they grew up watching Sting, so I'm sure they're Sting marks, they're marks for him. So to put him over was probably badass. They probably didn't have a problem with it, but the problem is they had a lot of momentum. Even though they lost to Santana and Ortiz, they won some of the, they lost the final match. They did win some of them in that series. They're beating teams on Dark Elevation. Last week or 2 weeks ago, last week they beat Matt Sydal and
also it was Matt Sydal and one another guy. Yeah, we forget but
from Top Flight. But no, I mean they had momentum. So it's like, okay, these guys should have won here, especially, you have Tully involved, because Tully was like, you and me, Sting, one more time. And even if you don't do that match, Tully could have, he could have been the reason why Sting, ate the pin here and to keep teasing that, storyline, that match. But no, Darby Allin was the one who did a lot of the selling. Sting got the hot tag. Sting had the offense. He was the one cleaning house, and he was the one who scored the pin too. He got the tap out victory. He got the Scorpion leg lock. Darby Allin took out, I believe it was Cash. He took him out on the outside with
the splash that he does. Yes.
Yeah, and then
the coffin drop. There you go.
Yeah, and then a tap out. So I mean, the baby faces go over, and FTR, they're still there. They're still in the mix, obviously. But that, to me, really halted their momentum. That, they were on a roll, and then boom, roadblock. And it's like, oh, okay, shit.
And the main thing for me is, like, if they're not going to be tag team champions like Sting and Darby, why they keep teaming up, For example, if Tully's manager, he never tag teams with anybody.
If you want to give gold to Sting, this is the perfect way to do it, as the tag team. So, if you're going to do it, like you said, do it. Push them. Don't just have them beat guys and then not go after them.
Beat guys that potentially could be rivals to the Lucha Brothers and then have great rivalries. That is something that we have seen that is not title involved.
Like I said, I don't think they want Penta and Phoenix to be in there with Sting, because they'll be like, I'll dive on you. Don't worry, Poppy. It'll be good. And Sting's like, okay. And then, done.
And then, all right, we gotta cancel it and all of that. You're right. So, I mean, that's what we got. I'm not sold on all of that. I think Darby Allin, he had his time with Sting. After the match of Revolution should have been, okay, sir, good, thank you, we team up, you're legit. Now should be the time for the feud. Maybe like Paz against Press, and we have the same kind of aura, the same identity, all of that. No, they still, Papa and John.
Sting can go on his own like that, so he's always going to, I think, be associated with somebody or a group or something.
Yeah, exactly. So that bothers me, because you said Allen is one of their own. So they should push him as his own. Like they're giving his own. Yeah, he has his own identity. Just let him use it.
Or just have Sting retire. Sting can put the face paint on and just have him wear a suit. I think that would look kind of badass.
Or be on commentary. He doesn't need to have matches, especially because what's there for him to do? There's no opportunity for the title. Are you going to put the AEW Championship on Sting? You're not Impact. So no, you're not. And it's not a shot at them, but they did it so many times.
But when Impact did it, that was like 2006.
Yeah, exactly. That's what 15 years ago. So there you go. So don't forget also that we're going to see on Rampage, besides the match with Jericho, they already told you. Besides CM Punk, we're going to see Eddie Kingston and John Moxley going against Minoru Suzuki and Lance Archer. This is going to be a match, kind of like lads out match. It's going to be also like New Japan implications. So this is going to be interesting. But I think, of course, Moxley and Kingston are going to win, because they're just like baby faces. Like I said, they love these guys. There's no way that they're going to lose. Lucha Brothers, Santana and Ortiz going against Private Party, The Butcher and The Blade. This is just bad, because Matt Hardy gets all this power and all these guys gets made matches on Rampage. But of course, clearly this is going to be all Hispanic Heritage Month. It's going to be Santana, Ortiz, and the Lucha Brothers, right?
Yeah, I mean, what happened to? Did they already do the tag match? Was that last week on Rampage?
Yeah, they did it. Yeah, and also the Lucha Brothers, they retained the titles.
Well, yeah. So, but I mean, why don't these guys? To me, I would have saved it for this. To me, no. I mean, nobody gets into these 8-man tags. These are just awful. I would have did the title match on here. Because this is a special show. Shouldn't all the belts be defended on this? What are they calling it? What do they call it? A Grand Slam.
Rampage Grand Slam.
A Grand Slam. You should be defending all the belts. So I think that was a little bad. So I'm not into this.
Yeah, exactly. And this is Penelope 4 against Anna Jay. Who's behind this? Nobody. I mean, there's a lot of cake involved. Yeah,
this is a match. You watch it, but for completely different reasons.
Exactly. Like the most important reason, like, is not wrestling related. So there you go. That's like what you're gonna have. And then also we're gonna see, this is gonna be good. Adam Cole and the Young Bucks, Talon, all of Talon against Christian Cage and Jurassic Express. This is probably gonna be the main event. I really hope that is. And this is gonna be the greatest match. And of course, Adam Cole and the Young Bucks are gonna win because it's Adam Cole. They need to give him wins. And Christian already lost one more time. He's actually more focused on Impact against Joseph Alexander, what is gonna be Bound for Glory. This is gonna be good. But it's gonna be a pretty cool showing for all of these guys. So Rampage is gonna be good, although it's taped. As we speak, they're actually having those matches. So by in the morning, we already have the spoilers. I'm not gonna say anything, but there will be. I already saw somebody asking for spoilers, and it was like a big name into like this podcasting names. It was already asking, "Oh, here's my email. If you want to send spoilers, and I'll give you some money." There you go. We don't do that, so that's why we don't even mention that. But Paul, let's move on to the main event. Dr. Britt Baker, DMD against Ruby Soho. And like you said, this match, probably the rivalry was more interesting. The word was the really good segment that they have on Rampage last week, going at each other. Really cool, back and forth. But the match quality probably not the greatest, because how can you go, top Omega and Bryan Danielson?
This is the one thing I will say. Britt Baker is, and I'm a fan of both these women. I don't want to say the word character, but the personas that they're on screen persona character that they portray. I love the war of words too. Like, oh, you're just like every other girl. You're sleeping with some guy in the back, and she's like, yeah, I am. Like, so. And, I mean, and she's like, oh, you were fired. You don't have to run away. You were fired. And I mean, she's like, yeah, I was, but it's the best damn thing that ever was, that happened to me. So again, shot at WWE, subtle but good. I got to give them that. And but the problem is with both these women is none of them to me are true leaders. Where it's like, okay, I'm the ring general. Like I'll lead like Bryan Danielson with Omega. I said he brought him to his best match. Ruby Soho needs to be in there with somebody who's like a Charlotte or a Serena Deeb or a Thunder Rosa. Somebody on that level that can really lead and bring you to a good match. Britt Baker can, but not on a level where both women shine, and especially when you got to do spots where you have everybody else get involved, that kind of kills it for me. But I mean, this was still all right. This was still pretty good. But again, I don't know if this would have been the main event, because how do you follow anything that was, unless the first match of Rampage, like you said, is CM Punk to really get the fans hot again? I don't know how you could sit there and watch all this wrestling without being.
Yeah, and that's the one thing, and 4 hours, 5 hours of wrestling like that. I don't know how hot can you be. Like, you gotta probably have a lot of Red Bulls in you, a lot of coffee or something, because I mean, there's certain matches that you're gonna pop for, but not all of them. And like you said, I mean, a little bit of Ruby kicked out of everything. Britt had some of the execution in the moves were good, like the airplane crash. That was cool. Also, super kick. In the end, but a big distraction right there from Reba and also Hater. And then that was the one thing, because Ruby started doing the riot kick. I don't know how they call it now. They call it a name now, but for us, the riot kick. And then she was about to do the same thing on Baker, but this is the main distraction that allows Baker to hit right there the submission hold, the lockjaw. And pretty much like you said right away, that's the one thing. She kicks out of so many big moves, high risk moves, and out of that, it was 2 seconds, and then she taps out. So in the end, did we think the title was gonna switch hands? No, we said this. It's she's gonna retain. Thunder Rosa should be the girl that unless Tessa Blanchard shows out of nowhere, but Thunder Rosa should be the girl, because like you said, they have the history and they have the best match in the women's division of AEW. Till now, so despite Ruby Soho, this was supposed to be the outcome all along.
Yeah, exactly. And to me, you're saving Thunder Rosa for the next pay-per-view, or when you feel it's time for Britt to drop the belt. Whenever that is, you're going to line it up for the closest pay-per-view. You're going to plan it then, unless you're doing some super show on TV, like, we've already seen, with Moxley and Omega, like we've seen that on TV and stuff. So unless you're doing something like that, and a lot of people were crying and upset, why didn't Thunder Rosa win the Battle Royal? This is why, because she would have lost here, and then everyone would have been so...
Exactly.
That's why Ruby Soho won it. Jim Ross said, if you didn't know who she was, now you know who she is. You have some respect for her and her talent, even though she didn't win. So Jim Ross is putting her over here. And the only thing I really didn't like is Shivani was so babyfaced to Britt. Oh, I hope she's okay. Oh,
Well, they're selling that story that they're friends, like Adam Cole, and I mean, like you said, like Shivani, like they need to be more neutral. They need, like, they're broadcasters. They need to be completely neutral. In that one, I give props to Monday Night Raw. Like the guys, like they're like, oh, they're like, oh yeah, my God, what's going on? They just they call it for what they see. So like here, like you said, Shivani.
The problem is they all three on Monday Night Raw. You have the neutral play-by-play. You have the heel color and the babyface color. On AEW, they're all babyfaces.
They're all babyface, yeah.
So
I mean, unless Taz at some point wants to be like heel again, or like that would be cool. But Paul, I think, like you said, thumbs up for this show, because Danielson and Omega still the show, right? And then like they gave it, like you said, already we're ready. We want to see number 2. The belt is supposed to change hands to Danielson. That's fine, because it's like the guy, and Omega like took care of him. The guy is great, but Omega, like, I think the beat triggers, I don't think he like hit him full force, because if done. So I think there was a lot of care, but like despite that, a lot of great spots. So I'm really happy with it. Don't forget, family, to subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and where else can they find us in the social media world?
And then you can follow us, Rope Break, on Facebook, the OG Rope Break on Twitter, the original Rope Break on Instagram, Twitch, and TikTok, and of course right here on YouTube, the home of the #1 podcast in the YouTube wrestling community, the original Rope Break.
So you and me have one more thing that is left to say, and that is...